Hey, Breaking Brown family. It's your girl, Yvette Carnell, coming to you as I do every Monday and Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, ladies and gentlemen. Please get yourself together. Get your libations, as I always say. Get yourself in the mood. And if you're not usually a person who comes here, then let's not comment, because people say, well, why don't you get started immediately? I give my people time to file in. That's why I don't start immediately. I give my people time to file in. They gave me time to be 13 minutes late. I'm going to give them time to file in. And when they come in and everybody gets settled, then we'll start our conversation. About what we're going to talk about. But until we get to that point, please, everybody, if you are watching this and you have not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. Okay? Please hit the little bell so that you get notifications that I'm on. Somebody says, I got my libations. I appreciate you. I'm excited. I'm excited too. So please do that. Go to breakingbrown.com and you can subscribe to the newsletter, which is a once-a-week newsletter about links that I ran into during the week, or links that I posted on previous videos that I think you should know about. So please, please do that for me. Subscribe to that. If you want to just donate, you can go to breakingbrown.com and you subscribe for a monthly, which is $3 a month, $5 a month, $7, $10, $15, $25, $50, $100. Some of y'all say y'all ballers, so come on, you can give $100 a month. Come in, 100, 200, 300, whatever you want to do. Also, you can also go to donatebrown.com, and please go to subscribe-to-brown.com. Subscribe to Brown doesn't cost anything, but I want to kind of build a mailing list just in case everything falls apart. That's Black life. YouTube could strip us down at any minute for any reason, which wouldn't make sense because we just do black news. But anything could happen. Facebook, I could get banned or something. So go to subscribe-to-brown.com because I want to have all of you in one place. All right? So that we can have that conversation. Now, if you've got your libations, ladies and gentlemen, if you have your libations, my Breaking Brown family, I don't care whether it's water, some sugar water like Pepsi Cola, a glass of wine, a glass of vodka. Some of y'all like that Henny. Y'all like that Hennessy. Whatever your libation is, please go and get that, and let's have this conversation. Now, last week, I want to do sort of a recap before I get started, because the reason I decided to do this show is because some of y'all didn't understand what I said last show. I went into the comments, and I always go into the comments because I love when people write 4 paragraphs about how Yvette ain't shit, and I can just delete it. You took half hour writing it, and it took me 2 seconds to delete it. Bloop. So I always go to the comments, and there are a lot of good comments in there that I really just want to pay attention to, and I want to respond to. And what I saw in terms of comments, I saw a lot of people getting a lot of likes on some comments that they shouldn't have got likes on. And there's a lot of confusion. So obviously, in terms of what I did last week, I didn't do enough in terms of breaking down the numbers. My fault. I'm going to do it today.
Do some black education today?
I'm going to do some black education today. Obviously, I failed last week, Professor. So I'm coming back this week, and I'm going to get it right.
Gather around, children.
Gather around the campfire. I'm going to tell you a story. Okay? I'm going to tell you a story. So the one thing I want to say, for those of you who missed last week or you were not here last week, what I want to do is give you a kind of a recap. Last week we talked about the Cosby Show. And my position in terms of the Cosby Show was that the Cosby Show was fantasy, it was fiction. It did not represent a middle-class black family, upper middle class or otherwise. It was not representative of black life. And the one thing I said is that we should have talked more about that house. We should have talked about what that house cost, because it was in the West Village, not Brooklyn Heights. It was 2 black professionals, a doctor and a lawyer, who were living in the 1980s in a $700,000 house. Now, if you don't understand what that means, in today's money, these 2 black professionals were living in a $5 to $7 million home. Okay? The Cosbys would have put down $43,000 cash money for that home in the 1980s. Okay? During the height of the crack epidemic, which would be $600,000 today as a cash down payment. Now consider that we're talking about back then. We're not talking about today, because what we're talking about, we're not talking about subprimes where you go and you flip a house and you find a crooked lender. No, they wanted 20% down back then to prove that you were stable. So you would have had, as the Cosbys, to drop $43,000 in the 1980s. It's two black professionals. Okay? That's $600,000. That's like dropping $600,000 in cash today. How many doctor lawyer couples do you know today that's ready to just drop $600,000 as down payment on a house? So I want to, the best way for me to, and is to go to clip 1, because I like Shirley. Everybody knows I like Shirley Hussar, but I want to tell you what she said last week, and I want to deconstruct what she said last week and tell you why it's not accurate. So please, put that full screen. Just put me. That's me from last week. That's me from last week talking to Shirley Hussar. And what Shirley Hussar said is basically, no, Yvette, you got it wrong. So I want you to listen to this, and we'll come back. And I'm going to deconstruct this. Okay? I'm going to deconstruct it for everybody. So you got it, Army up?
You ready?
Let's go.
Hey, Yvette, this is Shirley Hussar. How are you doing?
Hey, Shirley, where you been? How you doing?
Girl, we out here hustling. Every day is a hustle in California. God bless America. I'm still laughing at your previous caller, but I won't spend my time on that one. I'm trying to breathe. I have a difference with you regarding the Cosby. I love you, but I think we all have different perspectives of Bill Cosby. I personally love the Cosby Show because it came right after the era of Good Times, where he got a 50-cent raise and they were very happy. And they lived in a one-bedroom apartment. And it was just like, East Coast and West Coast is a little bit different. When we on the West Coast, we have more houses here. We don't have duplexes and multi-100 and 200-unit complexes. That's not how the black community was structured during that time frame. So there were a lot of blacks who were successful and who were professionals. And live in million-dollar houses right now in Leimert Park, who had those same homes that they had back then.
Okay. But did they live in a But did they live in a $7 million house as a doctor and a lawyer?
Their kids don't do it.
They didn't have $7 million houses back then. I'm in real estate. I've been licensed in real estate for 20 years. Those brownstones of that particular area where they shot was making me feel like it was a middle class. He was trying to portray a higher middle class American family. I think the blacks of that era wanted us to think bigger than we ought to. And I think they were right to do that because we were constantly being suppressed to think that we weren't even subhuman. So when you live in a country that has black Americans think that we're subhuman, there was a generation that said you can be more than. Now I never looked at TV as my reality. First of all, I just didn't. And when we talked about black politics, we never talked about if my mother was a Republican or my dad was a Democrat. It was about survival on an everyday basis in a good way, not in the way that it is today. So I think the times were so different. But to criticize, I was grateful for the Cosby Show. They had several episodes. They had episodes with him and his son. I don't know if y'all remember when he said, "Oh, you want to live on your own? Okay, go ahead." And he came back and his whole room was empty. He said, "Oh, you want to pay for the bed? You want to pay for the space? You want to pay for the food?" That was a good example of a breakdown of the reality of how blessed you got it in this house compared to the house out on the street.
We ready?
Yeah.
I said $43,000 down. The Cosbys would have put down, I'm reading my writing wrong, $143,000 cash money. The Cosbys would have had to put down $143,000. Think about this, $143,000 in 1980. $143,000 in 1980, $600,000 in cash today. That's what the Cosbys would have had to put down. Let me say it again. $143,000 in the 1980s. $600,000 today. I want to give you a moment to let that sink in.
Hey, we have 470 people. If anyone has $600,000, say something in chat. You have 600.
Ain't nobody gonna say nothing in the chat. I'm gonna say this for a third time because I messed it up at the first because I didn't read my own writing right. $143,000 down. That's what we're talking about. Now I want you to listen to what Shirley said. I want you to listen to what she said. I want you to pay careful attention to her words. She said, when she talked about it, she said, I hated Good Times. Good Times was an accurate portrayal of black life that we traded in for fantasy. The people on Good Times were upset for a very specific reason. They were upset for a very specific reason. They had no money. But you happy with the Cosby Show because they're happy. And what Shirley said was a lot of black people, a lot of blacks were successful. That's what I mean when we don't quantify things. But let's go on. She says, live in the same homes they had back then. And she says, they had these $1 million homes like in LA. And she's saying, in Los Angeles, we have these $1 million homes. We have black people in $1 million homes. I want to show you what Shirley was talking about in terms of those $1 million homes. Now, hold on a second. I want to clarify one thing. The Cosby Show's down payment in today's money is $600,000. That $600,000 will basically buy the houses in Ladera and these supposedly wealthy black areas that Shirley's talking about. Show me the first clip of one of these homes, Aaron. Do you see that home? That home is basically, when you look at what that home is, look at this little 70s looking house. Like you're talking about, we have $1 million homes. This is what that looks like in Ladera. In these places that you're talking about, that's what it looks like. That's what the $1 million home looks like in Ladera. So when you're hearing somebody say this, you need to understand what that home is. Go to the next home. We gotta look, listen. This is the $1 million home. This is the black wealthy class that Shirley's talking about. And you get through with that. I'm gonna go click number 3. Look at that house. Like, it looks like a regular house anywhere else. It don't even, like, it's a little 70s home. It's a little 70s looking house. That's what it is. And you're telling me, I'm going to say this again just to try to drill it in.
I'll just keep.
The Cosbys were putting $600,000 down. In today's money, they would have put $600,000. That basically buys that house. That's your $1 million house. That's your $1 million house right there in Ladera. Now, I'm going to transition. Show me that last one. Look at this little rinky dink.
That's $1 million.
That's $1 million house.
$1 million house. There you go.
So yeah, they got $1 million houses in Ladera, and they didn't move. You got to understand why they're in Ladera, because they couldn't go to other places. They couldn't afford to go where the big money was. This is not wealth, and the Cosbys could have bought that with their down payment, people. Now let me just show you that what Shirley is basically trying to do. She's trying to equate these homes to what the Cosbys had, but this is not what the Cosbys had. They didn't have that little rinky-dink home. That's not what the Cosbys had. The Cosbys had, I'm going to show you what the Cosbys had. This is what when you see the Cosby Show, when you look at the Cosby Show, look at clip number 5. I'm going to show you what they had. Look at clip number 5. Don't put that one up. Clips number 5 through 10. I want you to show you. This is the Cosby house in LA. We talked about the Cosby house being worth $5 to $7 million in terms of today's money. This is the Cosby house in LA. This is what it looks like. This is that $7 million house. We talked about the Cosby home being $700,000 in the 80s. This house was $575,000 in 1984. Now I want you to go through. I want you to go through, Army. Go through all the clips, and you can put them up big. Go through all the clips. Go through 5 through 10. This is the Cosby House.
That would have been a different show if. Yeah.
But when you're talking about a house that costs between $5 and $7 million, this is what we're talking about. This is the Cosby House. I don't know how to make it any clearer for anybody.
That wasn't Black Life. This is not Black Life. This house.
No, but that's what they put. That's what Shirley Hussar was basically saying is that when she says that somebody in my neighborhood had a Cosby house, what she's telling you is that somebody she knew had this house and they didn't. They never did. The only person who could afford that house is entertainers. You would have to be. Maybe Serena Williams can get in that house. Oprah can get in that house. But if you're talking about two black professionals could never afford this house. The equivalent in 2017 of what the Cosbys had then is this house. This is a $5 to $7 million house in Los Angeles. The Cosby's house was in New York. This is 5 to 7. So when she says, I have people or I know people who had this house, nobody had this house. And even today, nobody has this house but entertainers. You don't see nobody in this house like this. You don't see that. You have to, black people, you got to understand it. You have to. You have to. You have to. You have to. Now, I mean, there's a clip. I think it's clip number 11. And I want everybody to pay careful. If you don't pay attention to nothing else, please pay attention. I'm going to break down to you and I'm going to show you proof that this is the Cosby house. I'm going to show you proof that this is the Cosby house. Now look at this. The Cosby house was $700,000 in 1980s. This house, I brought it for you, was $575,000 in the 1980s. So the Cosbys actually had a better house, a more expensive house than the house I just showed you. Nobody had that house in the 1980s. Nobody. Again, nobody had that house. The down payment for that house in the 1980s, and no black person in California knew anybody who had that house. Even if you go to California right now and you ride around that neighborhood, those people are white. They're white, and there's no getting around it. And another thing you want to say is the only way the homes in that area appreciate is if the people living around you are white. Now, I want you to keep in mind the house you just saw. Did you see all of that house, Iron? Mm-hmm. The swimming pool. Let me just read you something from the house. I just want to. It says an unforgettable country French style estate with elegant Spanish influence, quietly tucked away on a gated private road in a storybook suburban community overlooking a majestic view of the Brentwood Mountains from its rooftop patio. Remodeled less than 3 years ago in 2013, this home is ideal location to raise a family or fulfill all the desires of a single lifestyle. Single, they want you to buy this $7 million single. Wealthy, rich people, they have a bigger house than this. Good Lord. Now let's think about this, featuring 6 private balconies and patio, custom lap pool and spa, outdoor foam activity, mat, lush Mediterranean style gardens, large kitchen with custom Italian cabinetry and high-end Viking stainless steel appliances, 5 fireplaces. How many? Jeez, 5 fireplaces and beautiful hardwood. Tree parcels are included. Seller is very motivated. Think about this. Put some of that back up. Because I'm going somewhere here. I'm going somewhere. Put that back up, Iron Man. I want them to see that. Put that back up.
I'm putting it up.
Look at that house. Look at that house. Look at that house. Look at that. They got the little beds outside on the swimming pool. Oh. Think about the description of the house that I just gave you. And I want you to make the connection. This is the Cosby house. This is the Cosby house. Not that Ladera stuff. The Cosbys could have bought that with their down payment. This thing right here that you're looking at, this $7 million what house, this is the Cosby house. They were telling you that these two professionals who were just working regular jobs were that was a middle class lifestyle. It was not.
It never was.
It never was. It was a lie. And what you're telling me is that you all prefer the lie over the truth. You all prefer the lie over. That's what you're telling me. If you're telling me, well, I like this because it made people. You prefer. Somebody said, make that joint full screen. You prefer the lie. You prefer to lie. Those of you who prefer to be lied to, ain't no way ain't no way you were doing that. We ain't even doing it now. You certainly were not doing that as a middle class family in the 1980s. You could not afford no house that was $5 to $7 million. And you could not afford no $600,000 down payment because you weren't flipping no houses. You can go get no house with no cash down payment. That stuff didn't come in until the 2000s. Learn to count, people. In the comment section saying I don't count. And we're going to get to the comments later. We're going to get to the comments. We're going to get to the comments because some people said some of this craziest stuff in the comment section. You know, and the houses in the best black neighborhoods are the equivalent of the down payment that the Cosbys made. I want to say that again. The houses in the best black neighborhoods are the equivalent of the Cosbys down payment. And not only that, they was putting kids through school and never told us how you got somebody going to Hillman and Princeton and all this stuff and you don't tell me how. We're going to get to all of that, though. We're going to get to all that. Because there's some other stuff we got to talk about. You know, when you go to clip 12 and 13, we're going to go through clip 12, 13, and 14, Aaron. And we're going to talk about, now I want you to, while I'm talking about this, while I'm talking about what I'm talking about, and I'm going to show you something, I want you to keep in mind the house you just saw. I want you to keep in mind the house you just saw. The house you just saw signifies some level of wealth. I want you to keep that in mind, and I'm gonna show you a picture. Now, this picture is from the Atlanta Black Star. Okay? This picture is from the Atlanta Black Star, and it's the richest houses and the richest communities for African Americans. Roll that beautiful bean footage, Iron.
It's up.
Now look at that. Now think about what you just saw and somebody trying to tell you that this right here is wealth in the black community. Think about what you just saw, what I just showed you. I just showed you, and I didn't even show you I just showed you what wealth looks like. Now I want you to look at this house. I want you to look at these houses in black communities where they say, well, the family income is $82,000. What? Do you know what the mortgage is on a house like the one I was talking about? Do you have any idea? And they're telling you that these houses, this is a signifier of wealth. I want you to think about what I'm saying. I want you to consider what I'm saying. This is not wealth. The Cosbys could have bought this house with the down payment. These houses that I'm showing you, this is not a signifier of wealth.
And this is the richest black community.
This is the richest, and this ain't rich. This is the richest black community, and this ain't rich. You only know, but since we don't have any connection to wealth, we don't know. Since we don't have any connection to what real wealth looks like in this country, we have no idea that what we think of as rich ain't rich. Having a median income of 80,000 or 100,000, that ain't rich, babe. And that ain't wealth. That's not wealth, that's income. Stop confusing wealth and income. They're not the same thing. What the Cosbys got came out of that house. And you know, Antonio Moore has a video. If you can, find that Antonio video. I think it's clip 20, Iron. And I really want to play that to just give you, I want to give you an idea where we are, as opposed to where a lot of you in the comment sections think we are. I want to give you an idea of where we really are. Okay? Of where we really are in terms of the context of our life. Not where you feel we are, not where your mind feel like you are, or you're going to project that we are, or the secret, or whatever kind of magic that you're using. I want to give you what we really are in terms of African Americans, in terms of what's happened to us in this country, and where we really are. That house that I showed you, which is in the richest black community, that's not a house. I showed you a house, and that's only a $5 to $7 million house. I can show you a real house with real wealth. I can show you a bunch of people. It's in there. I can show you a bunch of people. Okay? I can show you all of that. But I'm not going to necessarily do that. I'm not going to necessarily do that to you. I don't feel like I have to do that to you to show you everything. You can't find it?
No, I don't see it.
I sent that somewhere. I know I put it in there. Hold on. Hold with us, people. Hold tight. Hold tight. We're trying to find a clip I know I put in here.
If it's on your computer.
But I'll send it to you. But you know, and let me take a moment of breath. And talk to the people so I can see if I can talk and see. I just can't understand. I don't understand. I understand what y'all are going through, and I have something else. That I need to talk to y'all about. I have something else because I'm gonna do something today that I never do. I never ever go through the comments and just like do the comments one by one. That's something that I never ever do. But I feel like, yes, it's clip 20 at the bottom, clip 20. Yep. I feel like I need to do it today because I feel like I need to go through the comments today and actually have a conversation. I don't, it's not something that I wanted to do. 20.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, it's not something I wanted to do, but I feel like I got to do it. I feel like I don't have a choice but to have a conversation. So I'm going to have a conversation about some of the comments, and I'm going to pick apart the comments and show you what was wrong with the comments. Okay? Only like 3 of them. I'm not going to take a lot of time, but I feel like there's no other way. There's no other way to do it. I don't feel like there's any other way for me to do it. I feel like I have to address some of the comments and the problems that I had with some of the comments, and because that's kind of what led me to do a part 2. Because I felt like you didn't get part 1. Not all of you. I'm saying, but some of you didn't get part 1, so I had to do part 2. I didn't have a choice, and this is the reality of black life. We're living in a position that in the comments, what you see is people trying to convince themselves that what we know is true is not true. So they're kind of tying themselves up into pretzels, trying to convince themselves that this is not true, that what I'm saying is a lie or some sort of fantasy. But I'm gonna show you that's not true. And I think honestly, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start doing this very often. I think very often what I'm gonna start doing is going through the comments, because the comments reveal a lot. The comments reveal a lot of what we think about black life, of how we consider black life, and how we reinterpret facts in a way that doesn't really make any kind of sense.
We're gonna go to the first comment. Wirecast isn't gonna play the video.
What happened to it? It's just acting up or something?
Yeah, no, Wirecast won't play the video. So,
Why won't Wirecast play the video?
I don't know. It's an AVI file. Apparently, Wirecast doesn't like AVI files.
But just change it while we're going through the comments. You can change it to change it to an MP4.
All right.
Or you can resave it as an MP4, then play it.
Yeah.
So let's go to the first comment. Okay, you can put it up. I think that's clip number 15.
Got it.
So I'm gonna look at this while I'm talking to y'all. Okay. And this, I'm gonna read this. It's clip number 15. It says, Yvette, your basic message is great, but you obviously weren't a working class adult in the 70s and 80s, but I was, and I'm here to tell you that relative to today, houses were more affordable. Two professional incomes went much further than they do today, and my mother was able to pay for my college education out of pocket without any student loans, and we were by no means wealthy. I didn't live in New York where prices are much higher, but I knew families like the Huxtables. They weren't the norm, but they did exist. What you say about today is very relevant, but your commentaries about the past are a bit off base, and you should know this because you always refer to the boomers as the only black people having any kind of wealth. I am a boomer, and I agree that we were a window of time where wealth building was more accessible and educated professionals were not struggling the way they are today. The Reagan era did a lot to change this, but don't act like a family like the Huxtables didn't exist. They didn't exist. Nobody is saying that there were not doctors or lawyers, but they never lived like this. Listen, what I'm trying to talk about is counting. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to talk about counting. And this person is trying to talk to me about generalities, right? She says, now listen, this person says, I didn't live in New York. Well, what is your expertise on New York? I just went and researched New York. You're telling me that you didn't live in New York. So what are you talking about? You didn't bring any regionality, specificity to this conversation. Why not? Why didn't you do it? You didn't bring any of that to this conversation. It makes no sense to talk about generalities when I'm talking about numbers. I'm talking about numbers and you're talking about generalities. And you're judging by jobs as opposed to wealth. I'm not saying that there was not a doctor and there was not a lawyer and they were not black and get married. That doesn't mean they had wealth. That doesn't mean they had a $5 to $7 million house. You don't know what you're talking about. That doesn't mean the same thing. And, I want to say something. I want to kind of define counting. Counting is contingent on evaluating components of American life and how they contrast. So you have to be able to contrast LA property versus Atlanta or Atlanta property versus New York. But you come in here and you say, I don't know about New York, but I want to tell you why you're wrong. And then you tell me something I already said 10 times. That things like a loaf of bread were cheaper. College was cheaper. That doesn't mean that you had a $7 million house or the equivalent of what is a $7 million house today or the equivalent of $600,000 to put down on a house. Why can't you count? We're judging these people, these Cosbys. We're judging them by, we're having a wealth conversation. And what the people in the comments are doing, they're judging the Cosbys wealth by income.
Yeah.
Wealth and income, I've said it 1,000 times. Wealth and income are not the same thing. Wealth and income. And then notice what this person does in his comment. And we got to stop letting this stuff pass. The person says you weren't around in the 70s and 80s. And so you try to dismiss me because I'm younger. Even though I obviously know more than you do about this subject. You're not going to continue to do that to me. You're not going to do that to me or anyone else. We need to start judging people on expertise as opposed to age. Just because you were here before I was here doesn't mean you have any kind of expertise on this subject. If you did, you would not have said what you said. Because what you said made no sense. I was not in New York. I don't know anything about New York. Well, why are you not commenting? Why are you commenting when the Cosbys were in New York? You think I don't know there were black doctors and lawyers? Yes, I know. I also let them live in the equivalent of $5 to $7 million homes. I know that as well. Now let's go on to the next part. Comment number 2. This is clip number 16. Clip number 16. This is a quick one. It's very quick.
What's up?
It's a very, very quick one. It's a strange one, but it's a very, very quick one. It says, also, if I'm not mistaken, the Huxtable grandparents were also college educated. Heathcliff would have had typical, atypical wealth transfers. The Huxtables were more representative of the black bourgeoisie than the middle class. Since when has a Negro had typical wealth transfers? The whole point of this show is that we don't have wealth transfers. And you're going to say something that's stupid to me as he would have had typical wealth transfers. The whole point of this show is that we don't have wealth transfers. Even when we work harder, even when we have an education, even when we study more, even when we have better finances and we save more, we don't have wealth transfers. We don't have in vivo transfers. I've said that 1,000 times on this show, and you come in here and comment and say because he went to school, because he went to college, he had wealth transfers, and I didn't take his wealth transfers into account. And I'll tell you something else. If he had wealth transfers, I want to see it in the show. Show me what he inherited. Show me how he did that. If you're not going to show me how he somehow Heathcliff became an aberration, then I don't need to see it. And you're not an aberration just because your parents went to college. We have said 1,000 times on this show that college for black people does not translate to wealth for black people. And yet you write something in these comments because you're trying to make something that's not true, because you need that in your mind in order for you to be psychologically okay. This is more than anything in terms of what I'm coming up against. It's a mental problem. It's a mental problem. Hey, check your Facebook.
Yeah.
You should have the MP4 there. It's a mental problem. It's a mental problem that when I tell you 2 + 2 = 4, you tell me, Yvette, you know what? I'm gonna tell you why it's 5. I'm going to tell you why it's 5. Let me explain to you, Yvette, why it's 5. When I tell you that the theory of relativity is true, and if you go to the 10th floor of the building and jump off, you're going to be a pancake, you say, Yvette, let me show you how I know how to fly. Let me show you how I can fly. You just don't understand flight, Yvette. I can do mid-air flight. And then when I ask you, well, hold on, I never seen that. Can you do it for me? You say, well, no. I don't think I can, but I know it's true because I saw my uncle do it. When did you see uncle do it? Well, I know he do it because he told me that one time. We was fishing. That's the equivalent. That's the equivalent of what you all are telling me. That's the equivalent of these comments, and these comments are going to drive me crazy because they don't make no sense. So are you ready?
Yeah, man.
Okay, so this is you can make it bigger. This is Antonio Moore's video, and this is Black life. Like, this is the truth according to the data. So go to Tone Talk, subscribe. But right now we're gonna watch this video, and I'm gonna come back and we're gonna have a conversation. So hit it.
Tone Talks brings to you the difference between black wealth and white wealth explained in less than 2 minutes. In America, we think that we understand race, wealth, and how the two intertwine. We believe in a sharing of wealth among the races that largely does not exist. The truth is, by the data, there are really hardly any blacks that are millionaires in the United States, and whites largely own almost all of the personal wealth in the country. According to demos.org, white America owns 90% of the national wealth, with the top 50% of white families holding 88% of all of America's personal wealth in their bank accounts. Despite having billionaire Oprah Winfrey, of the 14 million black families, less than a few 100,000 of these households are worth more than $1 million, and that number is shrinking. While at the same time, over 8.5 million white families are worth more than $1 million. Adding to this, Almost all of the 540 American billionaires are white as well. In fact, according to a report by Credit Suisse, to be in the top 5% of black families, you only need to be worth $356,000, including your house. All while just the top few hundred white American families are worth more than all of black America combined. Subscribe to learn more at tonetalks.org. Tone Talks brings to you the difference between black wealth and white wealth explained in less than 2 minutes. In America, we think that...
Yeah, black people, this is your life. This is my life. This is our life. And listen, I don't want y'all to think, oh, Yvette went at Shirley who saw it. No, I'm just showing you why it's not an accurate depiction. It's not about going at any one person. I like Shirley. Shirley's cool people. I'm just saying that this right here is not true, and it's not going to be. Some things don't get truer because like you're with those people, or you're in LA, or you're in Miami, and I'm not in Miami. Well, Yvette, you don't know about Miami, so I can go research Miami. I can go and research New York. I can go and research LA, and that's what I did. I went and researched Ladera. So what I'm saying to you is that we don't have those kinds of wealth transfers. This wasn't, well, they're more like the black bourgeoisie. Even the black bourgeoisie, I don't even call people the black misleadership class anymore. I call them the black misleadership functionaries, because they're not a class. It's not even enough of them to make a class. We don't have a true class structure. Something else I've discussed on this show. I mean, it's just, I don't understand. Like, we can go to, and they had a big old house with a bunch of kids, but in the Cosby Show. But let's go to clip number 17. This is comment number 3. So we can talk about comment number 3, and I might leave it at that because I'm almost at the 10 o'clock hour. But this is comment number 3. This is comment number 3, and it's just, it don't make no sense.
It's up.
I want you to look at this comment for me. I can't see it good enough. Can you read it? Can you see it?
The Cosby house was no different than a Harlem or Brooklyn brownstone. Make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah, make it bigger so that people can see.
The Cosby house was no different than a Harlem or a Brooklyn brownstone. Tons of black people owned, many still do, brownstones in areas that whites didn't want anymore. It was black people, not just gentrification, who restored them homes. Many black people bought these homes for $25K, $40K, $135K, $200K, even $400K just in the early 2000s. And pretty much every brownstone in New York is now worth more than $1 million. Now, Cosby family should have had some tenants to pay for that rent, and they should have placed the family in Harlem, Bed-Stuy, Fort Greene, Crown Heights, etc., and could explain how they had that big house and probably bought it for the same price Spike Lee family bought their house for.
Bring that down for me. Listen, all this stuff and this thing about gentrification and you see this thing, it said many black people bought these homes after, the white people didn't want them anymore. Keep in mind, this is what this comment said. You're driving yourself crazy. Driving yourself crazy to make the Cosby Show real. The white people didn't want them anymore. I want to show you clip. Put up clip 18, Aaron. Put up clip 18. I want to show you clip number 18. Clip number 18. You said the white people didn't want these. This was gentrification. The white people didn't want this anymore. This is clip number 18. This is Rudy's little friend. Rudy's little friend name was Pete, wasn't it? Name was Pete. That was her little white friend. Got a little Asian friend back there in the background. This was not a gentrification situation. These Cosbys were living around white people and were living around Asians.
And Cockroach.
Not even Cockroach. Cockroach was his poor friend, like, remember? He didn't have, and they named the poor friend Cockroach. Somebody brought that up too. But this was not a gentrification situation. Stop using the stuff that's happening today to describe the Cosby Show that you can make it real in your mind. This was not that. This was not that. Rudy had little white friends, little Asian friends, all kind of little friends because that was her community. Her community around her wasn't majority black. So it's not, the Cosby situation wasn't a situation where, well, the white people didn't want the houses no more. So this is what happened. No, you're just making stuff up. You're just making stuff up in your own mind in a way that makes sense to you because you need the Cosby show to be real psychologically for you to be okay. That's a little white boy. That was Rudy's friend. Understand what that means. And understand when I talk about counting, you got to start counting years too. You got to start counting years too. The 1980s, these black people were living around these little white kids. That makes them rich. We're not talking about people that lived in the best of black communities. That makes these people rich. And they rich like entertainer rich, because the only people who could afford those homes, like I've already said, were entertainers. Not no upper middle class, two professional black families. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about gentrification. We're not talking about any of that. That's the stuff that happened in the 2000s. In the 1980s, you need 20% down. Give me cash to prove that you're stable. 20%. That's what you do. That's how it worked then. 20% down, prove that you're stable and that you can have this house and you can be around these little white people. That's what it showed. That's why we didn't have it. It don't make no sense. What we believe and what we think doesn't make sense. And the only thing that says about you, says about us as a community, and I don't take any kindness in saying this, or take any pleasure in saying this, is that we're mentally ill. We need the Cosby Show to be real. We need the Cosby Show to be true. We need the Cosby Show to be an accurate representation because we need to believe that. But it's not. And I say this to somebody who, I watched the Cosby Show too. I watched the Cosby Show too and I liked it. It was funny. It just wasn't real. I watched a lot of stuff that wasn't real in my youth. I understood that most of it wasn't real. The part of the problem is that we have not understood that the Cosby Show wasn't real. And we traded in real stuff like Good Times for the Cosby Show, which was fake. We traded in real representations of black life for fantasy representations of black life. And we're still struggling to make those representations true because we cannot come to terms with the fact that it's totally not true. It's totally not true. And there's nothing that you or I can do about that. There's nothing that I can make happen or make not happen. Do you understand? To change that. But in order for us to change, when people say, well, what can I do, Yvette? What can we do? How can we do something? How can we help? You got to tell yourself the truth. There's no other way to do it unless you tell yourself the truth about black life. You have to tell yourself the truth about black life and what it means. Somebody said, what's happening? There's a lot of shows that were typical about that were really about black life and what it meant to be black in America, but we didn't want those shows no more. We wanted the Cosby. Well, somebody got to go to Princeton, somebody got to go to Hillman, somebody got to go to NYU, somebody got to go to another school, and it was four black people going to school at almost the same time, and the Cosbys didn't bat an eye. And we said, well, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. That sounds quite normal to me. Since when? How? Who? Who are these people? They never had any comment. Wasn't no student loans. They never showed you they were taking money out the house. None of that. I don't understand. Somebody said, that's my mama. They're going through the shows. I just don't understand. And college was cheaper back then, but Princeton ain't never been $5. You're talking about some people. You're talking about black people owning a $5 to $7 million house and then putting all their kids through school with cash. How? When? When? I ain't never seen it. And let me just say one. Let me just mention one other thing. I want to just read something to you, just like really, really quick. I want to just read something to you real quick. About Bill Gates. And, it was up on Antonio's page, and hopefully we can talk to him in a second. But it says, doing the math, Bill Gates is worth nearly 8 times as much as the bottom half of Black America. Let me say that one more time. Can I say it one more time? Doing the math, Bill Gates is worth nearly 8 times as much as the bottom half of Black America. Do we realize what it means if the middle class Black family with true accounting is worth $1,700? Let me explain. There are 14 million Black homes. That means half the race, 7 million families, are worth less than $1,700, and many are negative. Let's be clearer. I'll give all 7 million Black families, 7 million families in Black America, the bottom half, $1,700. That means using a generous accounting, leveling out depreciating assets, half of Black America altogether is worth less than $12 billion. Bill Gates alone, again, people, is worth nearly 8 times as much. This is $81 billion. Do you understand what this means for your life? We can't afford to be American. We can't afford an American life. That's why reparations is essential. That's why everything I talk about is essential. So, do you have it?
I have Antonio.
So let's go to the phones. Let's go to the phones. Hopefully we have Antonio. I want him to come in. Let's go to the phones. I can't. People done deterred me.
Hey, how's everybody doing today?
Hold on. Let me turn you up, Antonio.
All right, all good.
Okay, I got you now.
So yeah, I've been listening. As you know, I'm a supporter of Breaking Brown, as Breaking Brown supports Tone Talk. This is more than bigger than our 2 shows. This is a void in the Black community, and you have so many people that are talking about wealth that have no exposure to wealth. So, like, with me, it's interesting because everybody doesn't understand. I'm using data from, the people that are at the top of this. Sandy Derry is one of the leading intergenerational economists. He's the guy you're going to find. And then Thomas Shapiro developed the term for the racial wealth gap. And I gave you interviews with those people. Not secondhand information, hour-long interviews where if you watch it, I went toe-to-toe with them and basically laying out the application of their data to Black life. I don't want to hear your opinion. I don't want to hear your opinion if you drive Uber tonight about how you're going to be a millionaire. And so for me, what's happening is that on the other side of that, what y'all don't know is, I've been to Dre house 2 or 3 times. $20 million house with an infinity pool. Most of the people that are talking ain't been in a house worth more than $2 million. Probably not even that. And they talking about money. I've been to Jamie house 2 or 3 times. Worth $20 million. Again, $12 million. And so, what ended up happening is, we got a lot of people that think they know money but don't know money. Don't look up Byron Allen's house on Google for yourself. His house is worth $25 million. I gave you an interview with Byron Allen. He called it economic genocide. Who are you to get on the phone after driving Uber and say to us, well, it's Black people that got money too? Show me the data. And I've been noticing a lot of boomers that live in Ladera, Baldwin Hills, driving Uber at night. That's how bad it is. Richest Black neighborhood, and we got people that live there driving Uber to survive. What does that mean for the rest of? If for those of y'all that say, "Oh, that don't happen," go look at Elijah Cummings' daughter. She graduated from Howard and then was using his congressional plate, license plate, to drive around and get an advantage, and drive it Lyft and Uber. So, what I'm saying to you is, we got a whole group of people, and it goes back on, I'm not the biggest fan of Booker T, but I know you got them reading. He talked about, how slaves would come to, the school over there and basically want to learn Latin, fresh off of learn Latin fresh off of the plantation, and he would give them a toothbrush and a brick and say, you got to learn to brush your teeth first. And I feel like we back there now where a bunch of people talking about Latin and they never been exposed to anything. And, people might be frustrated, think they know a lot, know everything. If you thought that there's a neighborhood of black people that live in a $7 million house, you don't know anything. It don't exist. Do you understand the gravity of what we're saying when the top 5% of black families are worth $350 and the Cosby put down $143,000 in 1984? It didn't happen. And it's not just in the level of it didn't happen, oh, this is just kind of a tale. They told you it was the middle class and told a bunch of black people who actually were living like good times that it did happen. And so, like, my thing coming back to it is, let's look at the color of wealth report. Let's get granular with the data. Sandy Darity, along with the Federal Reserve, since people don't want to believe in economists, let's use the government, or we're going to hear that's the white man. Sandy Darity, along with the Federal Reserve, did one of the first studies of wealth by city and sub-ethnicity, meaning breaking out Africans from descendants of slaves. What you find is in L.A., the middle white family is worth 300 hard, regardless of education, and 100 liquid. The middle black family is worth like 3,000 hard, 200 liquid. $200 liquid. So we got a person calling into your show talking about they know black people that have a $600,000 house. And the middle black family in the city today is worth $200 liquid from Federal Reserve data. Let me give you the data. There's 1 million blacks in L.A. Ladera Heights is 20,000 people. You frame your identity on a fraction, and you don't know that fraction story. You don't know that if they're driving Uber at night or if they got seconds and thirds on their house. When you see a house and it looks like it's from the 70s, it's a reason it looks like it's from the 70s. How you got $1 million house and you ain't remodeled? Come on. You don't know what's going on? They can't. They're locked in. They just took the money and went on vacation. Paid for private school. And so, like, I think that, for a lot of us, what's kind of happening is we don't understand that black America is the designed underclass. When we say that, I want to re-explain the little quote that you read at the end. There's 14 million black loans. We know that the middle family, according to Edward Wolf of NYU, quoted in Slate.com, is worth $1,700 without depreciating assets. The couch, the family car. You ain't supposed to count those things. I'm going to give all $7 million in the bottom, $1,700. That's not even accurate because some of them are zeros and negatives. So I'm going to give them all $1,700. That's only $12 billion. There's 35 white Americans by themselves that are worth more than that. And you think you're going to the same schools as them? Come on, man. The last thing I'm going to say to you is, one of the things that I will say is, like, even dope money. Y'all don't know. I'm so tired of talking to people that don't know that. Like, they don't even know that about dope money. Like, my documentary was with Freeway Rick. Go Google it. $2 billion in dope. And that's not to say it in no like, congratulatory way, but you have to understand, one of the things that I learned doing this doc is unfolding the lens of wealth. Before, like, the mid-'80s, black people didn't even have bread like that. Because, like, the first black person that really had bread above the board, like, really was, like, Barry Gordy. He sold EMI to Motown. I think it was in the early 90s. But before that, I'm not saying that James Brown and them didn't have some money, but I'm talking about $100 million black people. It wasn't like that. Magic Johnson was getting $1 million a year. Rick was making $1 million a day. And you know what kind of houses he was buying? $80,000 and $90,000 houses down on 80th and Florence and all that. Because that's where black people live. We forget this was a highly segregated time in American history as well. So to think that a black family walked in and had almost $600,000 in equivalent money today in just a white neighborhood, they just say, "Oh, come on over, and you can be our friends too." And to think, come on, man, this is crazy talk. And so, like, my thing just to you is, I support the data, I support the truth. Black people need to get back off of their high horse and really understand the state of black wealth and the reality of our social conditions. Because if we don't, they're going to remind us. And for a lot of y'all already reminded, and you got to go drive Uber tonight. That's all I'm going to say.
Thanks, Antonio. I appreciate you. I want to address one thing in the comments. Somebody said the data is skewed because white people have billionaires. No, that's average, not median.
Right.
You're confusing average with median. That's why I talk about numbers are so important. Yes, if I was talking about the average would be skewed with people at the very top and very bottom. The average is not skewed. The median, though, is not skewed. So you're confusing average with median when you say the data is skewed because of billionaires. It's not. You just still don't understand how we come up with the data. This kind of data cuts off the very top and cuts off the very bottom. Again, we don't know numbers. We don't know how to count. So we don't know how to make an accurate assessment of communities and demographics. It just is what it is. But I want to thank Tone Talks Antonio for calling in, and it's just an important conversation to have. Somebody said the median is useless. We got a lot of statisticians in here.
No, the median's actually
the median is useless. People just say stuff.
No, the median is what tells you, like, if you just throw a rock and hit a black person, that's what they have. That's what the median tells you. There are as many as above as there are below. If you just throw a rock randomly and hit one, you're looking at $1,700. That's what the median tells you. If you see a random black person, you pluck one out of the United States, that person's going to have about $1,700. That's what the median tells you.
Yep.
It doesn't tell you average. It tells you there's as many above as there are below.
Yep.
Right.
And then we talk about individuals. Like, who's like, well, Rick Ross was mean or something. Like, he was a butthole. What are you talking about? That's not the point of what Antonio was saying. How do you confuse that? We're not talking about his personality. Why do we get so caught up in stuff that doesn't matter? We're talking about how money moves and where that money came from and who had money and who Antonio sat down. When he said I sat down with Jamie, he meant Jamie Foxx. When he said I sat down with Dre, he meant Dr. Dre. He's talking about having access to wealth and having seen it versus just sitting here talking about something that you don't understand. How do you miss that? It's not complicated.
Go to some calls.
Yeah, let's get to another call.
Can you, hello?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, great. Finally, at long last, I'm happy the opportunity to speak to you. I'm calling from Greenville, North Carolina. The first thing I want to say is please calm down. I've been selling advertising and marketing for the last 50 years. The bottom line as to what's happening in the black community is that we're being swindled. And I base my thought beginning with a very simple mathematical equation. That equation is the price of gold in 1968. Martin Luther King said the night before he was shot, we spent $30 billion a year. That means the $30 billion a year is roughly equivalent to what we're spending now. What I did was I took the price of gold back in 1968, which was $39.41 an ounce, against the minimum wage at $64 a week. You could buy in a year's time 84 ounces of gold or 5.25 ounces of gold, pounds of gold in a year's time. Well, you couldn't possibly do that today on a minimum wage. If you took that gold and actually put it in a Social Security, bank security box, you have your own Fort Worth, whatever, Fort Knox. But the whole thing is simply this. If you took time to go ahead and work with that equation, what gold was back then and what gold is now, and then apply it to everything that's going on in our country, you will see that we have not made any progress whatsoever.
Yeah, no.
The amount of money that we are making now in so-called consumer spendable income is about the same amount we were making back in 1968. When you take that and translate it into buying gold bullion by the ton, is what I'm trying to say. So therefore, hello?
I'm here.
Are you there?
Yes.
So therefore, you really haven't made any progress whatsoever. In addition to that, the population now is twice as large as it was back in 1968. We're 43, 47 million black people strong. Back then, we were 22 million black people strong. Therefore, we only have half the amount of, twice as much of the population with half the amount of gold. And all you have to do is look around and see how that impacts it.
Okay. Thank you, caller. I appreciate you. I don't know, but I do agree with the point that like we haven't made much progress. Yeah, but that's all I got from that.
I take it back to the Brookings Institute study that said 7 out of 10 black families that were born in the middle class.
Those kids born into black families. Yeah.
Born into black families, born into middle class are going to fall into poverty. 7 out of 10. We are downwardly mobile. Look up the study. It's Brookings Institute. Bleak. Put those words in the Google. Brookings and bleak. 7 out of 10.
I don't know.
Like we are downwardly mobile. If we don't get
born
our
into the middle
politics
class
right,
and falling.
if we don't get our politics right, that's what we're looking at. Downwardly mobile black people. Your kids will not do nearly as well. They're going to do worse than you are.
They got to work. Like, our kids got dreams. Like, the person who's going to Stanford and Harvard, or who needs the Stanford and Harvard dream, is the person who lived in that house I just showed you. That's the person who got that dream. They go into those schools. We can't afford summer. I sent in my newsletter a video, an article that shows that we can't afford summer. They got no money for no camps, but you want your kid to go to Stanford? How? Get your black politics right. People say, what's the solution? Get your black politics right. It could help make you stable, but it's not going to make you rich. If your dream is to be in a Bentley, you're on the wrong page. That's not what I'm about. I'm about black people all across the board being stable. Right. I don't care if you as an individual become an aberration.
So what is getting black politics right? It means making sure getting our politics to make sure the banks are audited to make sure that they're lending to black people, black businesses, and black homeowners. It means making sure that there are pipelines to get into all of the positions in America. Antonio called, I want to say about 2 months ago, and he said in LA that black people are only doing 13 jobs. We only have 13.
He said that 13. We're in 13 locations, basically. Government and stuff, because that's the only shit they'll let us into. That's the only stuff they'll and we don't need government. Yes, I do. I need government to be like, you can't.
That's 4 of my jobs.
Screw over black people all the time. Right. You can't do it.
So we need to pressure for pipelines, dedicated pipelines from 3rd grade on to dental hygienists, and
not pipelines to prison people.
No, pipelines to surgeon.
Those are the pipelines we have right now. Get your little self in jail.
Pipeline to radio tech. Pipeline. There are hundreds of occupations in the United States. We should not be locked out of all but 13 of them. Like pipelines to being a grocery store owner.
But you know what, Army? Do you know what I hear? Like, the dumbest thing I hear, and this is why I can't stand the Ray McKesson. He's like, well, I'm just posing a question of whether post offices could be privatized. You little troll. Like, the thing is, even when we talk about government, people are like, why wouldn't we shrink and make the government? 25% of people work for government are black people. Why in the world would you want to shrink government? Why would you want to shrink government when 25% of people who work there are African American people? I want them to have jobs. Make government as big as you can. I need those people in that government to have a job. Those are my people. We were 13 now. Here we're 14.4% of the population. And we're 25% of government workers. And y'all be in there talking about, maybe we need to make government more efficient. Stop being crazy. The people hiring your people. Oh, geez, numbers again. I support.
The private sector is not as kind to black people as
not as kind. That's the understatement of the year. They will fire you. You can walk by your boss's desk and fart by mistake, and they can fire you. It's a right to fire. Right to work state means right to fire you for anything, anywhere, anytime, at any place. Don't matter.
But you know what, black people, if they fire us unfairly, we could always go to our team of lawyers.
Yeah. Or our unions, which don't exist no more.
Yeah,
and unions have their own problems.
Right.
They've had their own problems with race, but we could go. Where we gonna go? Yeah. The EEOC? No.
You're not going anywhere. You're gonna be fired. You're going to the street.
You're just gonna be fired.
You're gonna go to the street.
You're just not gonna have no money, and you're not gonna have no job, and it's just gonna be ugly.
Yeah.
If you ain't got nobody to help you and take you in. It's just what it is. I'm just saying. I don't know nothing about no gold either. Don't talk to me about gold. I don't know about gold. I ain't got no gold. I live a black life. I ain't got no gold. I don't know what you're talking about when you call and talk to me about gold.
That's all.
Yep.
Morning, good afternoon, good evening.
I think they said morning.
How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm okay here. I just want to make a quick comment. The last gentleman said that he would store whatever he was talking about that we don't know and many of us don't. In the same deposit box, that's not where we want to put our metals or our money. That can be appropriated, but we have 43 billion members of this black family here. Minus those in prison. And I think when we throw out that number, we got to subtract those who are in prison, completely felonized, completely marginalized, the new slaves, under voluntary servitude when you commit a crime and are in prison thereby. So we got to revise our numbers. We lost a lot of people. And I did read Outliers, and I learned I was an outlier, and that was a hard punch. I bet. So thank you for that referral.
You're welcome. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah. Basically, yeah, that's about it. And I'm glad my comments were featured today because I was kind of wondering.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next call.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Listen, somebody said in the comments I need to get on gold and crypto. Black people, stop in cryptocurrency. Stop talking like this. You are not inside. You are not an inside on the cryptocurrency or the Bitcoin or none of that stuff. Stop talking about stuff you don't understand and you're not an insider with. You don't work with the market. You don't work with those people. You don't know. Stop it.
The black community will not be saved by Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, none of that.
Nope.
Stop making yourself think I'm an insider. I understand the cryptocurrency. Hush.
That's not a strategy for community up there.
No. God damn it. Hey, make me itch. Hello?
Yes, this is Latoya Sanderson. I'm calling from Oklahoma.
Hey.
I'm just so glad that, and the way I found your show, I kind of stumbled on your show. I was just looking through YouTube, and I seen your picture. So I was like, let me click on and see what she's talking about. I just want to say I'm just so happy that I was able to just come in contact with you because you just opened my eyes up to so much, like, so much stuff.
Thank you.
And I mean, because I'm living in Oklahoma for one. And I just heard y'all say something about the right to
work.
Right to farm. I'm in that state. Mm-hmm. You know, they can hire you and fire you. They don't need to give you no explanation or anything. But what I really wanted to say is, I'm a nurse. And I thought going to school for nursing and, you know, I was going to be able to do so much. And I always reiterated to my kids, you know, go to school and then, you know, it's going to be all right, you need your education and stuff like that. And then I come upon you and I was like, oh my God, I am that person. I'm the person that's dreaming, thinking that, you know, that my kids could prosper. Now, my son, he's in college right now. And I was just telling him, I was like, you really need to go, and you really need to go and listen to her. I said, because what she's saying is so true. And I can remember him coming to me the second term for Obama, and he was like, are you voting? Because, of course, I'm voting. And he was like, why are you voting for Obama? And I didn't have a clue. Like, I voted, I'll be the one to say I voted because he was black. You know, and he was like, you really need to look on his policies and stuff like that. And I remember telling him, oh, you don't know what you're talking about or whatever. So I knew, I was like, you need to go and listen at her. I said, because the stuff that she's saying, I can remember you sitting down talking to me and trying to get me to critically think and not just go for what I always normally go for. And it's the Democratic Party, and like I say, got screwed. But I just wanted you to know that I'm so happy I came in contact with you. I've been just listening to all your stuff. I just recently came in contact, maybe probably like a week or so. But for everything, I've been going back and just listening to that stuff. And I just been telling everybody, just, you know, y'all need to check her out because what she's saying is the truth. It's just something that I definitely believe in. But like I said, I was the main one with the Cosby show, the dreamer, thinking that you could you know, do
thinking
all
that you could do everything.
And my thing is, I still have student loan debt. And so now I'm talk the son into going to, you know, try to go to this college with the mind thinking that, oh yeah, you can go here and you'll be able to get college money and stuff like that. So like, now on top of my student loan debt, I had to get my signature debt and stuff. So I'm so happy that I was able to just find you. It was like I don't know how to say it. Because the things that y'all say is just so true. It's just so true.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl. I appreciate you. And I'm happy you found me too. We both happy we found each other. I'm happy you found me too.
We're going to have to do that student debt show.
Oh.
We're going to have to do it. Look, if you're black and you're college educated, we need to do the student debt show. They didn't talk about it on Cosby. We got it. Sometime before the end of summer.
I went to Howard's $40-some thousand. That's the total of all my student debt. Like I couldn't afford Howard now.
So that means like pretty much what do you think the percentage of Howard graduates with debt? 85? 85. If you don't graduate with debt, that means you're paying $40,000 a year.
Yeah, what Negroes you know?
Plus living in D.C.
LeBron ain't got no kid in Howard. You know what I mean? Like what percentage of black people you know can go there and write that joint off?
Yeah, so like that's 95% of Howard's graduating.
I think the people who don't graduate with debt are like Howard. I heard is bringing in more international students, so they can't have access to a Pell Grant and all that stuff. So in student loans, so they probably got somebody back home. Like that's probably the only people there who are like paying money.
Yeah. So like we gotta talk about that then. But a lot of people don't act like they have debt. They act like they have money. A lot of 25-year-old HBCU grads act like they have money. Is that credit?
Yeah.
That credit confusing us?
Yeah. And nobody wants to say like I don't have money. I'll tell you right now, I don't have money. Like nobody wants to say it though. Like it's like you're not supposed to. How you gonna come from slaves and have money like that? Like tell the truth. Shame the devil.
All right, so you went to an HBCU. I gotta know. I know that like presentation's key and like everyone look clean there.
Not everybody. We come from a different type of HBCU.
Oh, a different type of HBCU. I'm just saying, is flossing something that they treat? So maybe you're not supposed to admit that you don't have money.
Well, no, it trains you to kind of be a striver. Like you're supposed to strive for, and you're supposed to, that whole thing, fake it till you make it and all that. So you're supposed to like be a credit to your race. And put forth a good representation.
The Morehouse man, yes.
Yeah, you're supposed to put forth a good representation. You don't want to walk out of Howard or walk out of Morehouse and walk out of Spelman and not be a credit to your race. That's part of what would,
But what we're saying is every person who's walking out of Morehouse, every person who's walking out of Spelman, and every person who's walking out of Howard is broke. And
we're not going to talk about that, Ivan.
Okay.
That's what they say at least, but that's what we, that's kind of what we're told we're supposed to do. So we're supposed to be a credit. I'm trying to be a credit to my race still. I'm not gonna do it the way other people do it, but yeah,
that's kind
of what's ingrained in me from Howard, right? Is to be a credit to your race. You need to be a credit to your race, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to do it differently.
Yeah.
And although we have some wonderful alum from Howard University, I must say I have to give my alma mater some credit.
So you're saying me if I see a 24-year-old Howard graduate driving a nice car, that car's leased?
It's leased, or they can afford the note. Yeah, but ain't nobody bought that cash.
Just bought that cash.
No, I ain't got no money for that. Anybody got no money for that? Nobody got no cash cards. Nobody got no cash cards. Not a little hoopty from the little pay here, buy here, pay here lot.
Hello.
Hey.
Good evening. Yvette Carnell, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Yes, I'm a social worker in the Washington, D.C. metro area.
Oh.
And I want to talk about high homelessness amongst African American women in my area.
Okay, go ahead.
Who are or have some type of vocational skills. I have a client who was living in an apartment, and while she was going to dental school, trying to strive and do better for her family, unfortunately, her building was condemned while she was in school, therefore forcing her to leave her education so she can fend for herself and her family. And no one's talking about the issues that African American women face because of single motherhood, which we can talk about in other variations that cause it. But nobody's talking about the real issues that we as African, especially women, face because we don't have the transgender wealth that can be transferred to us. Because what I noticed with many of my clientele, many of them had a grandmother or great-grandmother that had a home in the city. But because of gentrification, death, taxes, and so forth, they lost that home, or they lost that foot in the ground,
Now there are women, probably born in the 80s when the Cosby Show was started. Now they don't have that wealth, so they can continue on with the home.
Yeah, no, that's a thing. Yeah, I can speak to that. Yes.
Okay, thank you, caller. I appreciate it. Irene's gonna speak to this one.
Yeah, all right, so I was apparently it's a thing. I was at a block party, and a booming grandmother was talking to me about bankers knocking on her door saying, "Look, we'll give you $30,000. You can take a reverse on your mortgage." And she was like almost going to take it, but then she talked to a few of her friends, and it turns out that it's a scam. It's a land grab by like a local university or whatever. That like, look,
that reverse mortgage.
Yeah, the reverse mortgage. You take it out, you die. Your kids, because they're downwardly mobile, can't keep the payments going. You lose the house, and that's.
Can I tell you a story?
That's a
legacy. Can I tell y'all a story?
Oh,
can I tell y'all a story?
Gather around, children.
Gather around, children. I have a story. My mother wanted to do a reverse mortgage on the house.
How close was she? Oh no! Tell me, paint the picture here.
She was like, "We could have extra." My mama's name is Yvonne. My dad's name is James. She was like, "We could have extra money, James. We just took the reverse mortgage. I hear it's not so bad. What we gonna do, James?"
Give me that pen.
Yeah, no. And my daddy was like, "F that. Ain't nobody taking that. You just gonna put a burden on the kids. They can't do this. Ain't nobody doing that. Don't trust these banks. We're not gonna be bothered. You need to get somewhere and sit down. We're not doing that. People come around here, you're gonna lose your house talking about extra money. What you need extra money for anyway?" That's what happened in my family when the reverse mortgage joint came up.
James.
Right? My daddy shut that joint down immediately. Now, if it had been up to my mama, we would have had a reverse mortgage, and I would have been, I guess, when they passed on, struggling. But my daddy shut that thing down immediately. My daddy has never trusted a bank.
And
when
that's
you
why
come around
he's
talking
winning.
slick, my daddy be like, "Listen, get off my porch. ain't no having no conversation. Get off my porch and don't come here no more."
So, people watching at home, talk to your parents to make sure that they haven't done that, because it's a thing. And then we're being preyed upon because we're food for capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad, like somebody said, your daddy's the truth. My daddy is the truth. My daddy done say this family
Don't
so
you
much.
give me that pen,
but here's the thing. When I say that my daddy is the truth, here's what I want to say. I want to say something else real quick. The lack of, and I'm not saying this in any detrimental way to women. I hate that. But when you look at how many men, when you look at 10,000 per 100,000 and they're in jail, when you look at the fact that there is no kind of balance in the community because all the men in jail, what do you think has happened to other families? Well, wasn't no man around to say, "No, we're not doing that." Everybody got skills. My mama's wonderful. I love her to death. But we all have different skills and stuff. He was like, "Ain't nobody listen. No, I done told you 5 times. I'm not telling you no more. We're not doing that. We're not doing no reverse mortgage and leave the kids saddled with debt. And we don't know what they gonna be doing, how they gonna be doing when we die. We're not doing that." So I credit my daddy actually with that. With like making sure that didn't happen. Because that was the thing. You were seeing all kind of commercials.
It's happening.
You were seeing all kind of commercials on TV talking about, "It's wonderful. You just have to pay it back when you be dead." And your kids just have to pay it back. And people are like, "Oh, that sounds right. I don't know. That's not what, you're not leaving nobody nothing. You're going to leave your kids with a bunch of debt." Damn.
That's happening.
My daddy don't play them games.
No, but a lot of people do, and then they're like, and then you leave your kids nothing. This is a strategy, or they'll tell you that like you don't owe your kids nothing. Die with no dollars in your account. You don't need no legacy. Just spend it all.
Yeah,
they're independent.
Somebody said, "But why y'all so mean?" Somebody said, "You better hope your daddy don't die first." Y'all hush, hush. I wrestled my mama to the floor. Leave it alone. I don't want your dad. Stop it. Leave me alone. Next call.
Hello? Hello? You're on. Say hello.
Hello?
Hey.
Hey. Story that how y'all doing?
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Hey, listen, we've been talking about the Bill Cosby show. Well, first of all, my name is Mark. I'm here in Atlanta, East Point,
Hey!
by the way. And we've been talking about the Cosby show. But I want to juxtapose that to the show. Do you remember the show Family Matters?
I do.
Steve Urkel and all that. Carl, the father, was a Chicago police officer.
Yep.
His mother, the wife, worked in a department store.
Uh-huh.
The daughter got accepted into Harvard. So Carl went to the bank and said, hey, I want to get this loan. It's my daughter. I'm so proud of her. And she went to school, and I want to make sure that she goes to college. And so he went to get a second mortgage.
Mm.
And the banker told him no.
I don't remember that.
And he said, well, why? He said, well, because you already got a mortgage on Eddie, your son. We can't do it. So Carl had to go to his daughter and tell his daughter, who had done all the right things, study hard, worked hard. She learned her family's lineage through her grandmother, and he had to tell that girl, baby, I can't afford it. And that was the one thing I never forgot. He felt, baby, and I'm gonna let her go in that corner and crying. That was the real, excuse my language, that was the realest shit I've ever seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that reflected black life.
Real black life.
Like, baby, hey, I want to send you to Harvard, but daddy can't afford it.
Yep.
You know, I am an aberration in terms of my oldest daughter just having a bit, as in your words, she was a mutant. She played basketball.
Oh,
Yeah.
So she got a scholarship to Northwestern.
good.
Graduated with a degree in journalism and all that.
Great school. For sure.
But if I had an idea of even thinking about paying for Northwestern, me and her mother would have had to sit down and have a serious discussion.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, maybe she need to go to Kennesaw.
Yeah, she can't go to no
You can't go to West. It ain't gonna work out.
Yeah, maybe she can play at Georgia State. Hey, you know, your mama and your mama got $100,000 worth of student loan debt. Your daddy got $80,000 worth of student loan debt. I don't know how we gonna make this work.
Y'all still got student loan
And
debt.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm listening to you, brother.
Hey, ask him honestly.
No, so people play these games and they be lying to the kids and making it as though you know, there is not a real life of black people in this country, and that I and everybody under me, I'm 46 years old, and everybody I know got student loan debt. All of us. Student loan debt, credit card debt, it's us. And so, you know, we've got to figure out, and Army is right, you are right, we got to figure out our black politics. We got to quit playing these games and quit lying to our babies. That's the main thing I have to say tonight. We got to quit lying to our babies.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
that's all I got to say.
Thank
you. Thank you.
We gotta quit lying to our babies. We gotta quit lying to our babies.
We call our I never call. I have 2 daughters. I never call them princess.
You got a lot of babies now. Somebody said what you got.
Yeah, I just picked up a son.
He said just picked up a son like he picked him up somewhere. What you name that baby?
Bayard.
Ah!
After Bayard Rustin, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just had a son, but I have 2 daughters. And I think, like, you want to tell them that you're the best, or, like, they're the best and they can have all the nicest things. When do we tell our kids that we're broke? And, like, when do you think is a good time to do that? 12, 13? Or just start them off early? You see all those nice things you see other people have? That ain't us.
Yeah, I think
Like,
you got to
start
start
them
early.
off early and just say, like, that's just not your life. That's just not our life. Like, when do you tell them? I don't know. But I think I do run
I think you tell them as early as possible.
Well, now I run into college students now who don't know that their parents are broke because their parents never talk to them about how little money, like, these kids grew up thinking that their parents had money, and then are now realizing because their parents can't, come with college bills, and parents can't pay for them like their parents are paying for their sorority sisters or whatever, or dorm mates. That like they're finally figuring out that like it turns out I was broke all this time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why people don't figure it out though. Like I figured out that my parents were working class. My parents were factory workers, and I picked it out, 2 black factory workers. And I figured it out because my parents always took their food to work. They'd always pack their lunch. And then if I said like they would bring home like food like on Friday or something like that. But if I were like, I want some McDonald's, like we got ground beef at the house. So you figure out like if your parents don't want to spend money, like, well, okay, we not the people who spend money all the time. Like, I don't know. For me, I just picked it out. And somebody said, pick a fruitful degree. We got STEM workers who can't get jobs. They get jobs like at a rate of like 8 or 9% bigger, more than regular workers. Give me something else, because that ain't working.
Yeah.
And somebody said in the comments like, oh, men ain't in jail. 10,000 per 100,000. 10,000, that's more than apartheid. What do you mean? Stop telling me. Stop. So this is what I mean by not being able to count. That's worse than like apartheid South Africa. During apartheid, we worse. And you be like, well, it ain't everybody. I'm out. I don't know what good you is out, but whatever. Let's go to the next call.
You're on.
Hey, what's up? This is Nate from Detroit.
Hey, Nate, how you doing?
I'm all right. Hey, I was listening to the show. You guys be knocking it out of the park. You were so right, but unfortunately, the biggest job that you guys have is just really getting people to unlearn all this garbage that we been taught. Because I'm gonna tell you, I can't have a rational conversation with anybody in my family about money, about where we are. It's so funny because you always mention people talking about LLC paperwork. That is so true. I mean, because I'll get somewhere with someone in a conversation about how things are, and I'll be damned, it'll come up. Well, I got my own little side hustle, I got my LLC going, and it's just like the thing is that it really feels like we're totally in a war, and we're not fighting back, and we have no idea that it's going on.
Yeah.
That's really what it is, economic genocide. I mean, bottom line. I mean, because I didn't even know all the stuff about the Cosby Show, but when you broke it down, basically, it was all an illusion. And it's so funny because this is where the narcissism come into when it comes to stars, because I heard that Bill Cosby, in the beginning, he wanted to do that show as a regular worker. And he had someone talk him into saying, oh, well, why don't you just become a professional? Your wife is a professional, and then you have them living in New York of all places. Everyone knows New York is expensive as hell. So why would you try to push that on? And it's so right when you was like, gentrification, they lived around white folks. Yep. Black folks don't have no money like that. I mean, come on. But this is what I wanted to end on, is that just because we didn't know, you don't have to be smart to figure this stuff out. You really don't. You just get the information, and we start making moves with the information that we have. We know the terrain that we're playing on, and just move forward. Let go of all that silly garbage that I'm gonna say that white supremacy told us, just so we could be used as tools. Yep. Because that's all it is. Yep. And that's all I got for you.
No, thank you, bro. Thank you. I appreciate that. What I would say, he was like, I can't even talk to my family, and I think that's the one detrimental thing about where like the Breaking Brown tribe is, right? Like, don't nobody else know. So what's happening is that we find ourselves isolated, right? Because nobody else knows. Nobody else is talking about it.
They don't want to know.
Yeah, they don't want to know. And the thing is, it's almost like you're in a war, and everybody else like, what you doing with that spear? Why you got that sword? What you doing? It's like, don't you know what's going on out here? No, I'm all right. And so they don't know. So what do you do? I mean, I think that's why I think we're going to eventually have to, not right now, we're going to eventually have to have chapters, because we gotta do it. We have to get together and like start having these conversations, because ain't nobody else. I try all the time with family, friends, have these conversations, and they don't want to have them. They're like, I don't know about that. Well, then, like, that's the price you pay for being grown, is that you know what real life looks like. Like, how can you talk to me as a grown person? So don't tell me like, oh, Yvette stuck up, or Yvette don't want to talk to me. Yeah, I don't want to talk about BS though. I'm grown. I don't want to talk to you about love and hip hop. I don't want to talk to you really about the football game, or no. I don't want to have that conversation, or the basketball. I'm not gonna have no long conversation about Steph Curry unless you want to talk about what he represents.
Social control.
Yeah, social control. I'm not gonna have no. Don't ask me who I would like in the finals or whatever. When the end. I don't listen. Don't do that to me. I don't want to have that conversation. And so when I walk away from you, don't be mad. I have a right to just leave you standing there. That's my right. I'm not trying to be mean to you. I'm just telling you, you're not going to force me into having a conversation that I don't find valuable. So it is what it is. You ready to take the last call, Aaron?
Let's do it. Last caller is, we'll go to St. Paul. Hello?
Hey.
You're on.
Hello?
Hey, caller.
This is Cerulean Gray, sent you a super chat a little while ago. I know you all had a lot of time to talk. I was really wanting to have a private conversation, but it's really sad. You know, I'm a social scientist here in Minnesota, St. Paul, and even I have student loans, you know, and it's sad because I had the GI Bill coming out of the Navy. And I've noticed how even the colleges have basically this way of filling you up with fluff, especially in this, 2000, mid 2000s. Even now, they fill you up with this fluff, and then they keep the carrot in front of you with this very long stick, where you keep on taking these loans out. Like I saw my GI Bill was $80,000 after getting accepted to a master's program. I was even contemplating whether or not I should even take it, because I would need to take out another loan after my GI Bill was already depleted. But one thing is that the single greatest undertaking that we as black people must do is the political strategy. People don't understand you can have your business, but you will not be able to hold on to it unless you have some kind of political element in place that prevents your business from dying with you.
Yeah.
And my father, he's one of the baby boomers that Antonio Moore was talking about. And my grandfather was a business owner back in the day. He came to Minnesota, and he saw within a single generation how they were able to swindle his properties, his businesses from underneath them that are now owned by Asians.
Wow.
And so, when talking about the political strategy, that's how you really hold on to whatever wealth that you actually attain. That's the single biggest thing we need to actually be talking about. And it has to be something of a monolith. The reason why the government is so or not even the government, but the corporations who have a stranglehold on the government, why they're so effective at keeping us separated, is because they think like a monolith. They think and they act and they put their resources towards a one monolithic purpose. And that one single purpose is to prevent another monolith from rising. And I actually have a great belief in black people that the reason why a lot of these things are targeted at us is because if we actually got our shit together, excuse my language, we'd actually be the strongest minority demographic in the United States. And that's actually all I wanted to say. But actually I have more to say, but I know you have other callers that are coming in. So
thank you, caller. I appreciate you. I mean, like, one of the things I always say, people say, well, Yvette, are you trying to say that nobody should do black business and we shouldn't do? I'm not saying that. The only thing that I have said is that there's no black business without black politics. It's just that simple. We can't hold on to money that we make because of our business ventures and because of how, without black politics. We can't have the doors open to us for capital without black politics. So I'm not saying anything about, they dropped bombs, y'all, in terms of Black Wall Street. That's not the only time they've dropped bombs. Mobs came in and just took everything. Like, that's government that's supposed to protect you. That's your police, that's your county officials, that's your state officials. So how can you say, well, we don't need government? You need the police to say you can't burn down my house or my business. We've had a lot of business people. We just couldn't protect black business. So what I'm saying is not that you can't have black business, but that you would never have black business without black politics. That's it. I don't see how that should be complicated. I don't see how that should be controversial or none of that. So I just want to thank everybody for tuning in today. I appreciate you. We will be back as always Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want you all to, if you can, go to breakingbrown.com, subscribe to the newsletter. That's $2 a month. If you can donate, a monthly amount, 3, 5, 7, 10, whatever. And you can go to breakingbrown.com for that too. You can go to donatebrown.com and donate. You can go to subscribe to Brown and go to my newsletter. And as always, if you are watching this show, Breaking Brown family, please, if you have not always subscribe and hit the little bell for the notifications button so you get alerted. And if you all are reading Counterpunch magazine, there's a great article in there where I talk about mass incarceration, and I say that one of the solutions for mass incarceration is for more white people to go to jail, preferably white women. So please check that out. You can buy it at Counterpunch. That's counterpunch.com and all that good stuff. Just Google Counterpunch magazine, and I talk about why they gotta go to jail. Because I'm about a justice politics. I'm not about an empathetic politics. I'm about justice. So let's get that moving. I don't normally talk about church, but I heard a great sermon this week, and the man said something to the fact of the Bible says more about justice than love. I'm going to leave you with that this evening, and we will talk again on Wednesday about that, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your evening and pour yourself another libation before you go to sleep, because you're going to need it for work tomorrow.